I'll show you. This is how the floors and the steps that the force had to go through to order a telephony extension. It's ridiculous. Those, Mark, Wendy, you know all about this. It's horrible, and you had to go through all those steps to be able to get one extension to a desk, and it was horrific. So that was a really important document for us, because that changed very much how we all approached moving forward, moving on and changing what we want to change. Now, Frank worked with a company called ICS to come in and do the extensions for us, and we found that it was very costly to do, as you can see from the diagram. We put in a technology called point-to-point, which enabled each ICX switch to speak to another one, which was amazing back in those days, 2007. Imagine that. And it proved that the voice traffic could work on the data network. Now that was a really important step, because we suddenly proved to ourselves that we could do this really big stuff as well. There's only a team at the time of 3 of us, and we could do it all. And that was kind of groundbreaking for us. Now when we started going through the process of changing and moving things on, we worked really hard with Frank, because Frank knows it. Frank knows about telephony, he knows about Siemens extension, he knows about how things come together. And more importantly, his focus is very much from the user perspective as well. Who will be affected by it? Who won't be affected by it? When should it be done? And that's very much at the core of what Frank's about. Now, I used to run, I still do run things past Frank when I'm having a strange idea about stuff. Should we do this, Frank? Should we do that? And generally I get a look from over the fence and go, I know, yeah, maybe I'll think about that again. And that's really important. We did have some tough times. Frank spent many days and some very long nights working on some very big business affecting issues. Sites been not be able to make calls, multiple component failures, pretty much changing every single element of hardware in the Russian switch one evening with a Siemens engineer. And it's just to get calls going again and to get the business talking to each other. It's really important that you understand that the work that Frank does behind the scenes as well. He's constantly looking at efficiency. He's constantly looking at making things better. And it's the very core of what Frank has done, certainly when I've been working with him over the last 7 years. If it means meeting a Siemens engineer at 4 in the morning, we'll do it. If it means pandering to a business whim about, let's move our incoming 9 calls to this site for this moment, then we'll do it. If it means being the point of contact for the force continuity plan, we'll do it. And that's where I think I found the most amazing thing about Frank was very much around when the brown stuff is flying around, and it does fly around, and when they've moved telephony to Russian and the 999 calls are saying, when can we get the calls? When can we get the calls? There's a huge amount of work that needs to be done to get those calls moved, and everyone was focusing on Frank. Now why was that? Because he was doing it, and he did it, and he always did it. And that's the best thing about Frank. You know, when you give him something to do, he'll do it. Regionally, Frank's pulled together a regional comms group. He pulled together 6 years ago now? 2008. And in the current collaborative climate, it's quite important because all forces are in part of it. All forces take part of it. And that's something groundbreaking, certainly in terms of back office IT at the moment. The first thing that regional group was give us a mobile gateway interface, which saved the force £40,000 a year. 40 grand from 2008. That's a huge saving on a telephony bill that was running into about £250,000 a year. During those meetings, Frank brought back the idea of IP telephony to us, of how we could use IP telephony. We proved that we could use voice in the data network. So the next step was to go to a complete new system, a modern system. And that's what Frank brought back to us. We did a lot of work, research, and it validated what we wanted to do. We validated that, yeah, we can look at this, we can test it, we can try it, and we can see how it works. And that validated the entire 2-year procurement process to get this through, and that's a huge amount of work. It was a multi-million-pound investment for the force, and ultimately it grew from the seeds that Frank brought back from that regional group. Again, you can't underestimate the amount of effort that's involved in trying to change the entire fabric of a force telephony system. It's massive, absolutely huge, and we are one of the leading forces in the country at the moment in terms of telephony and telephony provision. So we should be very, very proud of that. Since we moved on to the Cisco process, Frank's been at the forefront of the process. We've probably lost count of the hundreds of thousands of boxes of phones he's unboxed and plugged in, and explains to the users how to log onto the system again. Listen. We spent the last year, as Nicholas said, tracking down every BT line that we had, in every site that we have, making sure they're used, and if they're not used, put the plug. When we first got together, we had 501 BT lease lines. 501. How many have we got now? Just over 200. That's culling 60% of our BT just through the diligence that this man's doing. It saved us on our BT somewhere between £80,000 to £100,000 a year. That process, and that's just what's taken place in the last year. So how does Frank fuel the fire for the work? Well, he has a round of toast in the morning. Just the one.
And a bacon roll and sandwich.
Bacon sandwich?
No, not bacon sausage.
Yeah,
I pay for it. It'll be vote out. I can't go on the call before it, so I've got to have it here.
He has his cup of soup every lunchtime, and the team generally have a little bit of a book running, see which flavour we're going to have. Potato, gravy,
beef.
Fred, what is it? Fred, outside of work, Frank moves sheds. He does move a lot of sheds. Replaces fencing and fence posts on what seems like a weekly basis. And builds large decking areas in his back garden where he and Jackie can get plastered on red wine in the warm evening. I've seen it. Not getting drunk, the decking area. And in the cold evenings, Jackie keeps him busy with a huge list of household duties. So what am I going to miss? I'm going to miss the voice of reason sitting opposite me, a sense of humour that's regularly had me and you probably both crying. Someone to discuss how to do an IT task around the house, and most importantly, someone I can trust and depend on. There is an old retirement saying, some people start retiring long before they finish work. That certainly can't apply to Frankie T-shirts. Have the box.
It's a blackberry.
Cisco phone for its
Oh.
What cold is it?
Wine stop.
Sheds.
Oh yeah, oh that's what I'm doing. I've done that, yeah. I went on about 3 years ago in Spain. Lush. My classic
I hope in some way will give you a reminder of what you've done here.
They were that exciting, wasn't it?
That might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but that used to be my network. And they were actually 19 exchanges, not 18, but...
Oh. I won't go into detail.
This morning, but
That one. And that's signed from lots of people. Some of you may need glasses.
yes. Wow, look at that. Thank you very much.
And we've got a couple of bottles of pump there for you as well. Maybe one send your way with that couple of.
Oh, lovely.
And a wine stop if you take it.
Well, there we go.
Speech.
What can I say? Well, I'll just start off by saying thank you very much to everybody who's turned up, and in the back row there, Jill. Turned up, and I don't really know what to say, but over the 12 years that I've been here, I've met lots of people, worked with lots of people around the region, around the area, around the county, and done lots of bits and pieces, and I've had lots of help from a lot of you guys in the room doing that, so it's not been me turning up and doing the job. There's been a lot of support behind me to fall back on. I appreciate that. A lot of them from our own team, as well as obviously other people who are around and about. I'm hoping that I'm going to be slowing down a bit, but I can't guarantee it. But hopefully I'm going to take a few days off. It'll be my birthday on Saturday, so that's the first thing I'm going to get sorted. So we'll wait for the weekend, and then we'll look towards not having to plan for Christmas on call. So that'll be one thing that I want to.
Yeah, cheers, Frank.
And then basically just trying to get into the new year and spend some time with my wife Jackie, and take things easy and do as much getting out and about and tripping around and stuff as we can. Hopefully bopping back or two. We'd love to call in and see if we've got time. But hang around toes. Hang around the toes here. Just like to say thank you very much for everybody, and I wish you all the best too.
We have goodies. Please stick around to just have a few words of Frank, and
What's that?
Thank you very much.